Good morning. It's Thursday, December 7th. And thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. I am Dr. Lana Pigao, HCC Northwest Director of Communications, and I will be telling you how to find us. We are live on Houston Community College District Facebook page, so don't go looking for us at HCC. And we're live on YouTube. We're also on X, LinkedIn, and on HCCTV at noon, 5 and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday. And today, for Thursday Family Fun Day, we welcome the return of our favorite aviation museum to talk about its fun events this holiday season. And we'll be joined very shortly by Ann Hobing. She is the Senior Director of Education and Community Outreach at the Lone Star Flight Museum. Good morning, Ann. We'll be right with you.
Good morning. Thanks for having us back.
Absolutely. But first, we're featuring a student, an HCC student, who is wrapping up his clinicals in one of HCC's most difficult programs, no doubt because the work is a matter of life and death. And we are welcoming Joseph Barrera-Kelly. He is an EMT student, part of the EMS program of HCC's Public Service Institute. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Hi. Hey.
Well, thanks for taking time to talk to us, even though you're going through your clinicals. But before we get into your specific experience, can you give us an overview of HCC's EMT program?
Overall, the program is really good. Our professor, Mr. Grissom, he's an amazing teacher. And of course, HCC, there's years of experience behind it. A lot of EMTs that I meet in the field, they come from HCC. So overall, HCC is really good and it's well known.
Excellent. And I know it's a very popular program in EMT. So when we spoke to your professor, Charles Grisham, he made it clear that the course is not easy. How did you find it?
It is not easy. A lot of people thought it would be easy and they didn't make it throughout the whole program. You need to read a lot. It's a huge textbook and it's in 6 months. So you need to read. Cheating and Quizlet won't help, but there are tools that the school gives you to help pass, like notes and ways of active learning.
And I would imagine you can't Google any answers. Is that correct? That the internet will not help you?
It will not. It will not.
So tell us how Mr. Grisham was a professor and as a mentor.
He's amazing as a professor and mentor. He has stories that helps you understand it. He has years of experience. And honestly, he could be a doctor if he chose to with the knowledge that he has. He's very smart. He's very bright. He's a very fatherly teacher. He's really nice. 10 out of 10.
So tell us some of the activities that you have to do in your program.
Well, we have skills. So during the didactic portion, that's during the classroom, and you have to do certain skills with the National Registry of EMTs. So there's skills and then a field day for fun. But usually it's 8 hours class, breaks every now and then. And skills, you just learn vitals, medications, and they make sure that you know what you're doing when you leave.
So tell us exactly what an EMT does, because I know that folks probably have an idea, but maybe there are specific skills and duties that you all have.
Okay, sure. There are 4 levels of pre-hospital care. There's EMR, which is police officers, and even you can become an EMR, take a few classes. There's EMTs, which is what I am, advanced EMTs, and paramedics, which is the highest. EMTs, we cannot give intravenous fluids like AEMTs and paramedics, but we can give you oxygen, nitroglycerin, albuterol, Atrovent, basic care before you go to the hospital just to keep you alive. And of course, we can help you give birth. We can do CPR, AEDs, basic care, basically.
So when somebody is in a medical emergency and the medical folks show up at their home, is it usually an EMT?
Usually, yes. That's the most common that you will find around.
So you have a patient or you have somebody who is in a medical emergency. What is the first thing you do as an EMT?
You just have to go make sure that you're safe. First of all, the scene is safe, your partner is safe. With EMTs, we take priority because if we're safe, we can help more people. Versus if we're not safe, we can't help anyone.
So how do you assess the situation? What are some of the things that help you decide what kind of care you're going to give?
Depends on what dispatch tells you. If it's a trauma call or a shooting, you wait for law enforcement to tell you, after you stage, it's called staging, you stay away from the scene. Then you let law enforcement call you and tell you to the scene. Or you can you stage away and you see from the scene how bad it is. And if it's safe, you can go. It's fairly simple.
So one of the things, and I want to ask you about this, it gets frustrating for those of us who don't know. So an EMT is called to an emergency situation. You get the patient in the truck, in the ambulance, and you're just sitting there. Like, why are you guys not rushing off to the hospital?
We might be taking vitals. We might be stopping immediate life threats that other people cannot see and giving you oxygen, certain things that we have to do, finding out what hospital is best. Maybe the hospital that we want to take you to cannot take you, it's too full. So we have to see another hospital. And we also have medical control that has to tell us what we can and can't do, depending on certain situations. So there's a lot going on in the ambulance.
Yeah, that's good to know because I think folks don't understand that. Okay, now going back to the birthing, because I had no idea you all are trained to assist in an emergency birth, correct? So how do you train for that?
Well, when a woman's in labor, you ask her how many weeks she is, and you assess her vaginal area. And if she feels like she has to push and the baby is crowning, you have to stop. You cannot go any further and you have to give birth. It's too late. The baby can't wait. And you have to coach her through it. The baby knows what to do. The mom knows what to do. And just give her oxygen if she needs it, but take care of the mother and the baby. And hopefully it all goes well. If it's a breach, extremity comes out, an arm or leg, we have to stop and take it to the hospital. We can't do it there. But if it's normal, we just give birth.
I love that. So you're just there to catch the baby, basically, because you said the baby knows what to do, the mom knows what to do. That's great advice. Okay, so what advice do you have for students who may want to come to our EMS program from the Houston Fire Department or other fire departments?
It's really good. Houston Fire Department, it's an 8-week program, and this is a lot of information to gather in 8 weeks. And this is healthcare and it's very serious. So I would recommend you come to HCC, especially because of the program and it's known, it's reputable. So come here, take it's a semester-long course, take it, you will be confident, and you can get your fire also at HCC, and you can advance through the program quicker versus the normal way.
Excellent. So one last thing, tell us about the EMS as a medical career stepping stone.
Yes, it's a lot of doctors I've read online will tell you that this tells you whether or not you want to be a doctor or not, if healthcare is for you. My goals for medicine is I want to go to cardiothoracic surgery, and seeing this in the clinicals really let me know that medicine is for me. Just the patients, helping people, and just being around people. I love people, and it lets you know that if this is for you or not.
That is excellent advice, and I wish there was something like that for most careers, so folks know, yes, this is for me. This isn't for me. For me, it was a ride along in a police car that told me I do not want to do crime reporting. So, well, thank you, Joseph Barrera-Kelly, EMT student, part of the EMS program at HCC's Public Service Institute. We will have your info in our post after the show, and we wish you great success.
Thank you.
Hello, Lana. Thanks so much for filling in for me. Today was one of those Murphy Law days. Now, for you, it was a ride along in a police car. For me, it was shadowing an executive producer in TV and all of the assistants telling me, if you want to make money, don't work in TV. And I said, I'm not going to work in TV. And you know what I did? I went and I worked in TV when I graduated. So it didn't work for me, but I did have a good time.
I was a working journalist. I just did not do the crime beat. It just wasn't something that I was interested in.
That's a lot to process. I mean, that's a lot of secondhand trauma. So, I mean, I always think about that when I watch the news and think about, man, they take that home every day in addition to those who are experiencing the trauma firsthand. So definitely understand why you made that decision. And I'm sure there are a lot of pilots who wish that there was some type of career where they could, kind of test the waters and see if they were cut out for it. And so we're going to move on to Ann Hobing, who is the Senior Director of Education and Community Outreach at the Lone Star Flight Museum. Welcome to the show, Ann.
Thank you so much for having me, Sade. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you back for what we have a term for, which is Thursday Family Fun Day here on HCCTV's Up to the Minute. And you have all kind of winter fun this holiday season. So let's jump right in. So, of course, the kids are wondering, when is Santa going to take his flight? So what are the family friendly holiday activities happening at the museum this season?
So yes, Santa is coming to town. So on December 16th, Santa will fly in a Stearman aircraft. A Stearman was one of the primary trainers during World War II. He'll fly in on the Stearman, come greet the children, do some photos. It's family fun because there's hands-on crafts and activities. Santa arrives around 11 o'clock. The museum opens at 10, so get here so you can see him coming in from the airport.
I am sure that is always a hit. So is that happening during winter break? And if not, when? And then what else is happening that families can plan around during the winter break?
Sure. Stearman Santa arrives December 16th. So he's coming in the morning on that Saturday so he can do a pop-in before he has to get back to the North Pole and take care and prepare for his big flight that happens on Christmas Eve. So Saturday's December 16th. And we have other family activities. We're actually doing our first ever family holiday overnight. So you can grab your sleeping bag, your pajamas, come and sleep with our airplanes in the museum. That is after Christmas. That's on Saturday, December 30th. So it's a family activity. There'll be some hands-on demonstrations like some drones we can do. You might be able to build your own model airplane. So all kinds of fun that evening. Then you sleep overnight, get up and have some breakfast the next morning. So we're thrilled to have families come and do this and check it out and see what they can do in a fun evening experience during the holiday season. We also have things on daily programming like an elf scavenger hunt. So instead of elf on a shelf, elf in a plane. So come find where all the elves are hiding, go through the scavenger hunt, and have some fun doing activities like that. We also love doing STEM-based activities. So we have things like Santa parachuting. So it's kind of like in the traditional, you've heard of an egg drop. So we're going to do it like that, but it's going to be Santa and he's going to be parachuting. And then we also have something, you've got this big sleigh, it's full of toys. You've got the reindeer on one end, Santa on the other. Well, there's some science and physics in that, right? So you're going to learn how to do some weights and balances with Santa's sleigh. So when we do family activities here, we love pulling in all the science and the hands-on fun as well.
And when I think about STEM, I think about STEM camps, which is a staple a lot of times in the summer for families, but you all are having winter camps. What can people expect from that?
Yes, thank you for that. We do. We have winter day camps. So in the summer, it's usually a week-long camp. So in the winter, it's going to be one day. And so we have lots of different topics. This is going to happen the week after the new year, before all the students go back to school. And so we have lots of different topics. We have things like Pilot Maker 1 and Pilot Maker 2. So of course it just means a little more advanced. And that's where you're going to learn those hands-on physics of flight, do some flying in our simulators, learn how things like weather can affect flight. We have an aero derby dash day camp, and that's maybe for a student who wants to learn about other aspects of flying. They want to learn about navigation or how to do map reading or plot your flight path. And then one of my favorites is our Fly Girls camp, because you learn all about famous female aviators going back decades. I mean, even as far back as Bessie Coleman, who's in our Hall of Fame. So, you know, she's a Texas native, a Black woman in the Deep South who got her pilot's license on her own. And her story is just so remarkable. So you learn about Bessie Coleman and other women, not only pilots, but there were so many women and innovators and involved in the technology about airplanes and aircraft and aviation over the past, well, really almost 120 years. So it's really exciting stuff for these winter camps. It's 5 hours. It includes your lunchtime. Members always get discounts on camps. So you can see our full list of camps on our website.
You know what? Whoever came up with the name Fly Girls, give them a raise. I love it. And definitely
thank you for that.
Was it you?
It was not me. I have to say. You know, honestly, Sade, that's kind of a typical term that's been with women in aviation for years and years.
In aviation, maybe I miss it, but that, you know, definitely. Thank you for sharing about a native Texan, Bessie Coleman. She was definitely that girl. Okay, she's definitely a fly girl to look up to. And so you mentioned that the Santa flight is December 16th, which is on the eve of a very special day in the history of aviation. What is so special about December 17th?
So December 17th, 1903 is when the Wright brothers took the first powered flight. So aviation has centuries of history. I mean, going as far back as Leonardo da Vinci, who was this inventor and had all of these different ideas about how flight could happen. And hot air balloons came in and other types of aircraft. But in 1903, on December 17th in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, the Wright brothers, who were bicycle mechanics, actually got the first powered aircraft off the ground. And so that's an enormous day, really, in the history of the world, is having powered flight. So we are going to celebrate that 120th anniversary of powered flight on Wright Brothers Day, December 17th.
Love that. Who, you know, 120 years seems so long ago, but I mean, just look to think about how far aviation has come in just that time, that we are catching a lot of flights this holiday season, one of our main sources of travel, so that we can get where we want to get. And I mean, frankly, so Amazon can be there in 2 days. Okay. So think about it just from logistics and outside of just how we travel as people. And there's something else very special going on. And I hear you all have a Glacier Girl at the Lone Star Flight Museum. So now, full disclosure, I had to look this up. So I'm going to assume that other people may not know what's significant about this plane. So tell people what is so legendary about it.
So Glacier Girl is a legendary aircraft. She's a P-38 Lightning. And so I'll tell you a little bit about her story, but I don't want to give away too much, right? I want people to come and visit and take a look. So in July of 1942, the United States and a lot of countries were engaged in World War II. And a group of aircraft made up of these P-38s and some B-17 bombers were flying from the US to England. They hit some bad weather. They didn't have enough fuel, so they had to land. The closest landmass was Greenland. So there's no landing strip, no airfield on these glaciers. And so they crash landed. And it took 11 days for them to get rescued. They walked about 17 miles to get to a Navy ship. So these aircraft were abandoned. It's called the Lost Squadron. And for decades, people were looking. So this aircraft was finally located 2 miles from the original crash site. and 268 feet under the ice. So think about that. That is more than a 25-story building, but down under ice. And so you take this whole concept of all the STEM and technology that we've been talking about, and you go, how do I rescue an aircraft from under 268 feet of ice? So I'm just going to say 2 words. You're going to have to come and learn about it. Super gopher. So there's a super gopher piece of machinery that helped tunnel down to the aircraft. Remarkably, she was in very good condition. And in 1992, she was finally removed from the ice. 50 years later, an excavation team came and got her. And so she was restored over the course of 10 years. And for the first time ever, she is on display at a museum, and we have her right here. I mean, to think about it, in 1942, she crash lands in Greenland. She's under 268 feet of ice. She gets rescued, gets rehabbed, refurbished to flight condition that she now can fly across the country. So we are so thrilled to have her here. 80% is original parts of this aircraft, and she can still fly. So she just has this remarkable story. She's a one-of-a-kind type of aircraft to come and see because of this story. So we want you to come to Lone Star Flight Museum and take a look at her.
You know, this has been such an enlightening interview. You know, I think when you think of museums, you always think of the arts and culture, and we often don't, like, our default isn't to think about, hey, there's so much opportunity for it to just be a place where you can dive deeper into a subject matter and the entire history of it. You are so passionate about aviation and the subject, and I hope anyone who's listening outside of the activities that are available for family gleaned at least one fact that you didn't know about aviation. Want to remind you that the Flight Museum is here in your area, so take advantage of it. We've been talking to Ann Hobing, who's the Senior Director of Education and Community Outreach for the Lone Star Flight Museum. Thanks so much for joining us, Ann.
Thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back and talk more.
All right, for those who've been listening, information about the Lone Star Flight Museum will be posted after the show. All right, we're going to move on to our news, events, and announcement portion of the show, which is how we always close things out. You want to kick things off, Lana?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, we have the Southeast reception, the student juried exhibition. Through these in-person and virtual exhibitions, they feature art studio students across the HCC system. Southeast will host this awards reception today from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at the East Side Learning Hub. Registration is not necessary. Everyone is welcome. And be sure to check the post for details about how you can check out the exhibition.
Yeah, it's going to be really busy at HCC the next couple of weeks. We have the Fall Music Concert Honors Recital, which is tonight. This is the final concert for music majors, showcasing select students recommended by private instructors across voice and instrumental disciplines. And again, that's tonight, Thursday, December 7th at 7:30 p.m. at HCC's Hyatt Theater. It's free, but registration is encouraged. So check out our post after the show for more information.
All right, and we have a Taste for Dance where students will perform what they and guest artists have choreographed, happening 7:30 p.m. from Friday, December 8th at HCC Northwest's Performing Arts Center in Theater 1. Be sure to check out the details for more info.
And change your life with a real world education. If you're ready, HCC Northeast is hosting an adult education and literacy open house this weekend. You can sign up for GED, ESL, TSI prep, and even workforce training. There will also be staff on site to discuss scholarships. And that is 9 a.m. Saturday, December 9th at the Acres Home campus. And we'll have more information in our post after the show. You are muted, darling.
Thank you. Well, virtual information sessions are a bag. Starting college can often leave you wondering, okay, where do I start? But those virtual information sessions are here to help you understand where to start, what next step to take. It'll cover how to apply, college admission steps, financial aid, education pathways, and all the support options available to our HCC Eagles. To find out when these are scheduled, check out our posts after the show.
And HCC spring registration is open and ongoing, and it includes the popular mini sessions during winter break. All courses are either in person, online, or hybrid. As everybody knows, there's online anytime, online on a schedule, hybrid, in person, and hybrid labs. And to learn more about HCC programs, start dates, and options to cover costs, go to hccs.edu/apply.
All right. Well, coming up tomorrow for Film Friday, one of our own filmmaking faculty and local filmmaker in her own right will be here to talk about the upcoming HCC Media Arts Showcase. And it's time for our Employee Significance Awards when HCC recognizes the devotion of its longtime employees. This guest will have been with us for 50 years, 5 decades, folks. So be sure to tune in on our upcoming episodes. Thanks so much for joining us for this edition of Up to the Minute. We'll see you next time.